Leave this lobby! We don't serve people like you! It wasn't a slip of the tongue. It wasn't an outburst of anger. It was a declaration cold clear and seemingly rehearsed many times before. Dean Whitmore, the season manager of the Astoria Crown Hotel in downtown Portland, stood behind the reception desk like a self-appointed judge. Arms folded, eyes unashamedly filled with contempt. He didn't whisper. He didn't avert his gaze. He wanted the entire lobby to hear it. The woman he was staring at, a black woman in an unbranded shirt and dark jeans, didn't respond the way he expected. She stood still silent. But there was one thing Dean didn't know. In just 9 minutes, the very woman he had insulted would fire him and his entire team right here in the place he thought she didn't deserve to step into. She didn't shout, she didn't rage, and she didn't pull out any VIP badge or fancy credentials. It all began with silence and a steady, calm look. If you're watching this story and feel something stir inside you, drop your city name in the comments. And if you've ever witnessed or experienced being judged solely by your appearance, don't scroll past, because what's about to unfold will change everything. Rowena Blake walked through the glass doors of the Astoria Crown Hotel as if she'd done it 100 times before. No assistant, no luxury handbag or diamond watch. Just a fitted black t-shirt, dark blue jeans, and eyes well accustomed to situations like this. She walked slowly, each step echoing on the marble floor. Her sneakers made no sound, but her presence seemed to dampen the air in the lobby. Eyes turned toward her, some curious, some cautious. At the front desk, Dean Whitmore stood like a statue of judgment. 2 staff members flanked him. Madison, mid-30s, hair tied in a tight bun, a smile thin as thread, and Brent in his 20s, arms, crossed eyes suspicious. No one greeted her. No one asked what she needed. Instead, she was met with top-down stares, as if she were a misplaced item in the wrong store. "I have a reservation," Rowena said, her voice soft but clear. "Presidential suite. Under the name Blake." Dean squinted as if he misheard. "Are you sure that's the highest tier room in this hotel?" Rowena didn't respond to the insult. She calmly handed over her ID and a black credit card. Dean took them with 2 fingers as if afraid of catching something unpleasant. "Strange," he muttered. "Doesn't look legit at all." Rowena kept her gaze calm, not even flinching as Dean took her card. But at that moment, Madison, with a face tight as a drawn wire, pressed a discreet button under the counter. A woman's voice echoed from the intercom, "Security to front desk, please. Potential unauthorized guest attempting to access premium suite. Possible fraud." No one looked her in the eye when that announcement blared. They looked past her as if she were a threat, not a person. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Rowena said, her voice still steady. "I just want to check in." Brent chuckled dryly and sneered. "People pull this stunt all the time," flashy credit card, unfamiliar name. "Hoping we don't look too closely." From a distant corner of the lobby, a hand slowly lifted a phone camera quietly aimed at Rowena. Emily Tran, an Asian American travel blogger visiting from San Francisco, had begun recording. "This is really happening," she whispered to her friend Marcus, who immediately opened his live stream app. "We're at the Astoria Crown Hotel Portland, and something very wrong is happening here right now." Across the lobby, a young receptionist, Camilla Ortiz, looked up from the concierge desk. Her eyes met Rowena's, and in that moment something unspoken passed between them. No words, no explanation. Camilla took a small step forward, but Dean stopped her with a glance, sharp as a knife. "She doesn't belong here." Rowena said nothing more. She took out her phone, opened an app, and tapped once. In an office 3 blocks away, a screen lit up. Her executive assistant Janelle Monroe received a simple message. "It started." Without delay, Janelle replied. "Systems are ready. Cameras, audio internal feeds synced." At the front desk, Dean kept twirling the black card in his hand, as if waiting for it to confess something. He cleared his throat and spoke louder enough for the entire lobby to hear. "We've seen this scam before. Someone walks in, pretends they have a reservation, waves a sketchy credit card, and disappears once the bank checks." He turned to Brent, handing him the card. "Hold on to this. Lock it up. Don't let her touch it again." Brent grinned like he'd just been awarded a prize. He went to the security drawer behind the counter, opened the steel compartment, and carefully, or rather theatrically, placed the card inside. The safe door slammed shut. The click echoed like a cold sentence. "All set," Brent announced. "You're done here." From Emily's corner, a whisper was heard. They just confiscated her card. Marcus, now with over 200 people watching the live stream, spoke into the camera. "We've just witnessed the unlawful seizure of personal property right in a hotel lobby. No protocol, no verification." Rowena remained still, gaze unwavering. She spoke barely louder than a breath. "You're going to regret this." Rowena didn't flinch when the safe slammed shut. No startled reaction, no protest, only silence, and a memory rising quietly. At 24, after a grueling red-eye flight, Rowena had arrived at a small hotel in Atlanta, sweat clinging to her neck, laptop in her backpack, and a reservation confirmation sitting in her inbox. She wore a simple tracksuit. The front desk clerk looked up, gave her a once-over, and said, "You don't look like you belong here." When she presented her documents, he simply shrugged. "System's down. Come back when the manager's in." She left with nowhere else to go. Slept in her car seat, pushed all the way back, jacket rolled into a pillow, car horns and street lamps replacing any real rest. The next morning, in a small corner cafe, Rowena began drafting what would later become one of the fastest-growing hotel empires in the country. And now, standing in the lobby of the Astoria Crown, a hotel she owns, the same dismissive look, the same unspoken accusation was alive again. In Dean Whitmore's face. Rowena smiled slightly. "Your reservation is no longer valid," Dean declared, as if handing down a sentence. "We don't entertain frauds. You're holding up our operations." Rowena tilted her head just a bit. "You mean those guests live streaming right now, Emily and Marcus, were still filming?" Guests had paused mid-check-in, suitcases still in hand, all eyes slowly turning toward her. No one in that lobby knew who she was, but they were about to find out. Dean stepped forward, his voice lower but no less sharp. "You're wasting everyone's time," he said, making sure the whole lobby heard. "Leave on your own or we'll be forced to act." Rowena didn't move. Madison, seemingly emboldened by her manager's stance, came out from behind the desk. She straightened her blazer sleeves and marched toward Rowena. "You've been warned," Madison said, reaching out to touch her. "Please vacate the premises." The moment her fingers grazed Rowena's arm, the entire room seemed to freeze. A voice burst from behind. "She just touched her." "I got that on tape," Emily shouted, camera fixed steadily. The clip hit Reddit seconds later, captioned, "This is happening right now at Astoria Crown." Marcus, still live streaming, glanced at the view count. "Over 500. From the right corner, Camila, the young concierge, who'd earlier been silenced by Dean's glare, stepped fully out from behind her desk. Her face no longer showed hesitation. "No one is allowed to touch guests." Her voice trembled, but it was clear. "She's in the system. I saw her name this morning." Dean spun around, livid. "One more word and you're fired too." But Camilla didn't back down. "I won't lie for you. That sentence wasn't just for Dean. It pierced the tension in the air like a pin through a balloon. The eyes around them began to shift. Rowena hadn't taken a single step, but the tide had begun to turn. Dean Whitmore stepped back half a pace, eyes flashing in disbelief as Camilla stood her ground for once, not bowing her head. "She's scamming us," he muttered. "People like her always think they can game the system, bend the rules." The words weren't loud, but in the now almost silent lobby they exploded. A gray-haired woman holding up her phone half-consciously whispered, "I can't believe I just heard that." A man in a navy suit leaned toward Marcus, still streaming. "You catch that from the start?" Marcus nodded. "Every second." At the center of it all, Rowena remained unmoved. She calmly lifted her phone to her ear. "Janelle," she said softly, "start escalated logging. Timestamp this moment. Prepare transcript authorization." On the other end, Janelle's voice was steady. Timestamp marked. "Logging all data. Want me to alert Carla. Give me 1 more minute." She slipped the phone back in her pocket. Her eyes now turned to Brent, still behind the desk, his smug grin cracking just slightly. "I'd like my card back," Rowena said, not a decibel louder. Brent scoffed. "And if I don't?" Her reply was lighter than air. "Then your access to the Astoria System employee ID personal files. Security clearance will be permanently revoked." Madison laughed aloud. "You don't represent Astoria." Camilla's voice came gently from behind. "She does." Dean let out a bitter laugh, half mocking, half desperate. "You've all been duped," he said. "No one knows who she is. There's no Blake on the shareholder list. No record, nothing." Rowena didn't answer him. Instead, she turned calmly to Camilla. "Camilla, please check the system." "Blake. Presidential suite entry." Camilla opened her terminal and typed. A soft click echoed. "It's there," she announced. "Booked 3 days ago. Remote check-in enabled. Flagged as senior ownership override." A hush rolled across the lobby like a slow wave. Dean blinked rapidly. Madison lowered her gaze. Brent stepped half a foot back toward the safe as if to act, though unsure what to do. "No way," Dean muttered. She must have hacked the system," Emily, still recording, responded. "You think she hacked a national hotel chain and brought 1,000 live stream witnesses as backup?" Brent swallowed hard. I was just following orders." Rowena looked at him. No anger in her eyes, just clarity. "No one forced you to take my card. You chose to." And as if something had been unlocked in the room, an older woman stepped forward. She positioned herself between Rowena and Madison, and no one dared stop her. "She won't be touched again," the woman said. "Not while I'm here." A young man stood up, then a woman holding a child. Within seconds, a quiet semicircle began forming around Rowena, not out of command, but out of conscience. Dean stood frozen behind the front desk. No more bravado, no more smug grin, only darting eyes scanning the sea of raised phones, the stares no longer avoiding his and the woman he once dared to call a fraud. Rowena took a single step forward, not threatening, not rushed, then stopped directly in front of him. "You wanted me gone," she said. "You withheld my card, humiliated me, called me a fake in the lobby of my own hotel." Dean opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Janelle's voice came through Rowena's earpiece. "Carla is awaiting authorization." Rowena didn't look away from Dean. "Patch her through." With a single tap, the sharp voice of Carla Bennett, Chief Legal Officer of Blake International, rang out across the lobby speakers. Based on documented conduct and under emergency supervisory authority, I hereby announce the immediate termination of Dean Whitmore, Madison Keller, and Brent Donovan. All access to the Astoria system is revoked, effective immediately. A soft beep followed her statement. Dean looked at his ID badge. It lit up red. Brent tried swiping at the safe, access denied. Madison checked her phone. It was logged out of the internal system. No one screamed. No one pleaded. Only a strange, weighty silence settled, because everyone knew justice had just been served, not through rage, but through real power. Camilla turned to Rowena and gently asked, "Would you like me to call security?" Rowena shook her head. "No need. Let them walk out of this lobby like any other guest. Let everyone see what consequence looks like." Dean, Madison, and Brent walked away from the front desk as quietly as shadows. No more defiance. No excuses. They moved through the same lobby that moments ago had been their territory, now a mirror reflecting everything they'd done. No one stopped them. But no one looked away either. As the glass doors closed behind them, Rowena turned to face everyone's staff guests, live streamers, and silent observers alike. She stepped forward now, standing beneath the chandelier atop the marble floor, and for the first time she spoke not as an individual, but as something larger. "My name is Rowena Blake," she said, voice calm but commanding. "I'm the founder and CEO of Blake International, the parent company of the Astoria Crown. And as of this moment, this hotel is restored to the reason it was built to serve all people, no exceptions." The room held its breath. An elderly guest nodded. A young mother smiled while holding her child's hand. Camilla, no longer just a front desk agent, stepped beside Rowena, not asking permission, but standing with her out of quiet respect. From now on, Rowena continued, all complaints will be addressed within 48 hours. No more automated emails, no more dodging accountability. We won't say sorry with words, we'll prove it with actions. This silence wasn't fear anymore, it was true listening. As the atmosphere shifted from shock to solidarity, Rowena turned to Camilla. "Lock out all accounts tied to the 3 terminated employees, and initiate a full audit of complaint history from the past 18 months. Camilla nodded. "Understood." Moments later, Janelle from headquarters sent an internal alert. "We've identified system violations. Several complaint files were falsified, marked resolved, with no evidence of resolution." Rowena took a quiet breath. Not surprised, just confirmed. "Continue the investigation," she said, "and pull all communication logs between Dean and regional operations." Soon after Carla's voice came through the earpiece, we verified Dean reported directly to Michael Turner, former regional director. He retired 3 months ago following unresolved internal complaints. Janelle added, "And we found unofficial instructions from Turner prioritize guests who fit the brand image." Not written down, but everyone knew what it meant. The room fell into another hush this time, not out of confusion, but because truth had just been called by its name. A woman near the lobby benches began to cry. She whispered, "So it wasn't just in my head." Rowena looked up. Her voice no longer shook. "We're not just reforming a hotel, we're dismantling a system." 3 months after that day, the Astoria Crown still had marble floors beneath and chandeliers above. But what made it different was the air itself. No more side eyes when a modestly dressed woman entered. No system tagging who deserved a smile and who didn't. And at the reception desk, a framed portrait now hung, Rowena Blake with a line beneath it. She built it for everyone. No exceptions. Camila was now the hotel's general manager, not because she stood beside Rowena that day, but because she had stood up. Blake International launched audits across all 57 properties nationwide. Dozens of buried complaints resurfaced. Hundreds of staff were retrained not in etiquette, but in human value. The guests who live-streamed that day who stood up for a stranger, they each received handwritten thank you letters from Rowena herself. You spoke up when others stayed silent. That makes the difference. At the National Hospitality Conference, when asked to give the keynote, Rowena said only this: "Hospitality doesn't begin with a smile, it begins with default dignity. Smiling at those who are easy to smile at. That's courtesy. Smiling at those you were once taught to overlook. That's where change begins." The whole auditorium stood not because she was a CEO, but because she had once been forced out of a lobby and came back to open its doors for everyone. If you believe everyone deserves respect, share this story. Because sometimes change doesn't start with power. It starts with someone who chooses to stand still at the right moment.